the common council meeting for June 16, 2015. Will you please stand for invocation? Bobby, please.
Well, Andy will do it for us. He'll do it. Gracious God, we thank you for this day, Lord. We thank you, God, for how you continue to bless us and keep us. God, we thank you for this council. Continue to work with them, be with them, help them to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and to be wise in their speaking. And that's not just them, that's all of us, Father. Help us to all know that we still need to hear what the people are saying and our community needs. And help us always to rely on you to give us that word and that wisdom we need. We ask you to be with all our leaders, all of our first responders, continue to watch over them and continue to be with them and help them to guide them in the things they need to do. We thank you, God, for having people who are willing to give their time and their effort to protect us. So watch over them and continue to guide them. And ask for all the persons present here today that think it's important enough to understand what's going on in their community. Be with them, be by their side, help their families, be with them, help them strengthen them. We thank you for the people who also, God, that just thinking of our community who may just pick up a piece of paper, may just pick up a bottle, may just straighten out a chair, may do something to make our community a better place for people to come and visit. God, we thank you for everything. We love you. We place no one before you. We ask this prayer in the name of Jesus the Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Bobby. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Smith. Councilperson Wadsworth.
Present.
Councilperson Sellers.
Present.
Councilperson Webb.
Present.
Council President Gill.
Present.
Councilperson Julius.
Here.
Councilperson Owen.
Here.
Councilperson Samuel.
Here.
Let the record reflect 8 council members present, councilpersons Estavny absent.
Yes, and Ed lets all know that he is on vacation this week. Minutes to be approved, and let's do the first one is our regular council meeting proceedings for June 1st, please.
Motion to approve.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. So we got the minutes for our workshop proceedings of June 1st, 2015.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Approve of agenda.
So moved.
Got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. The claims to be approved, Heather, and we do have 2 hand carries. And Nathan, I do not think in your email I've seen what the total of your hand carried.
1,200.
Even?
Yes, for Shakespeare on the park, in the park.
Good job, Nathan.
And then the other one is for the insurance for $279,272.83.
New total, please.
$935,253.35.
Real quick, on the insurance, one of them is for $186,480.08. That's for our premiums quarterly. The other part of that is $92,792 workman's comp.
And when we went through the claims, we did not have that $20,000 claim in from the judge. Did he sign that and submit that?
It should be in there, hold on. I gave that one to Chad to make sure he put that in there. Yes, it's in there, under court.
It's on our claims report when we're doing the claims.
Oh, it wasn't there?
Yeah, right.
Okay. Do you need to see that?
I need you to verify that he did sign that. We know what it's all about, but just to make sure that that is signed.
Sure.
I appreciate that. And then, Connie, did you have a couple of the parks that you never got answered for?
Yeah, we gotta take it.
Got taken care of?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did have a couple questions. Under fire, we've got global emergency product on just about every line on it. It says repair a fire truck.
That's the breakdown invoice for the $70,000 on the ladder truck.
Yes.
That's up to the 70,000.
Oh, I understand that, but I mean, I'm just shocked to see it like that. There's no explanation on anything. So if they're satisfied with it, then that's great.
Yeah, we had to enter it per invoice, and they had many invoices.
Okay.
And all those invoices were there with the claims attached to those claims.
There's nothing
Yeah,
further.
Okay. It's good.
Nothing further. Motion to approve with the hand carry claims.
Second. I'm going to abstain from voting.
Okay, I got a motion and a second with a new total of $935,253.53, correct?
35 cents.
35 cents. Oh, I reversed it. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Heather. Report of the clerk.
I'll go quick. Last week I attended the meeting up at the State Board of Accounts and also for the Indiana Municipal Clerk Treasurers. And we had several really good workshops on budgeting, ethics, and what I'll be doing is going through that information, scanning it in, and sending it out to the council. The one on ethics was really interesting, and so I have even contacted the lady with the Attorney General's office and asked if there's a way that she might be able to come down and do a workshop for the council and also department heads and see about possibility of getting maybe the other municipalities along with the county in. Because it was a really, really good workshop. It's a lot of new things that are coming up with ethics. And then I was asked to be on the executive committee of the league this year.
Congratulations.
And those meetings will be held when we're at conference, so it won't be like I'll have to be taking off, leaving my office duties. The other thing, Jamie gave her resignation the same day we had our last council meeting, that she was leaving, and she accepted a job as a probation officer, which her master's degree is in. So we have given an offer to a lady to start, and it would be June the 29th before she could start. So it's going to be Patty and me basically for the next 2 weeks. So
We'll go easy on you.
okay, that's all we're asking. So
And Vicki, if you would mind, there's a lot of changes with the DLGF. If you come across any budget workshops or if there's any internally with the DLGF, I'd like to be a part of those, and hopefully Ed too as vice president, just let us know, or any other. But I know you get a lot of that IAC information, you can send that out to us.
there's supposed to be, Heather, have you received a notice yet from DLGF about when the budget workshop is? Okay. Yeah,
A lot of changes.
Because, is that held here with you all, or is it at the county building in Ass? So, if some of the council members could attend, and I talked to Mr. Jones with the DLGF, and he said that would be up to the field rep. So I guess you would just need to get with Heather to get with the field rep, because there is a lot of changes coming out that I think the council needs to know
Heather, if you
about.
don't mind, I'd really like to be a part of that. Sure. Okay. Anything else? Okay, thank you. We move on to unfinished business. Got Heather. And this is a public hearing, but the ordinance of additional appropriation that passed in the first and second reading.
Yeah, there's no changes to that.
Any questions for council before I open up public hearing? Okay, so at this time, I'm going to officially open the public hearing. If there's anybody who wishes to speak for or against this additional appropriation, please come forward, state your name and your address for the record. Okay, seeing none, I'm officially closing public hearing.
Motion to approve on the final reading, 2015 OR 29.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion or questions? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Heather. Kim Calabro, 2015 OR 30.
I think last council meeting, you actually approved this on the first and second reading. And if you look
First only.
Okay. If you look at page 2, under city clerk, we've eliminated the position for court clerk, accounting second deputy. If you look at page 4, one thing that happened, and I don't know why, it's just, I don't know what I did, but erroneously, under crew leader maintenance, we've always had 2. It's Donnie Grimes and Mike Reynolds, and for some reason the 2's not there. Back when we made all the parks changes. It's not highlighted on yours because I just caught it looking at it.
It's by Fieldhouse and League.
Yeah, the whole thing got like moved to the right. I don't know what happened there. That was approved at the 420 meeting when we made all the changes to parks. And there's no new staff. Those were just retitled staff on people that were currently working. The only other change was in the part of the budget process that Paul had requested that the administrative assistant, 1, be a full-time position. And that was approved by council. That was it.
Were we going to try to add those things to this that we talked about in our workshop to this one? Do we only need to
We're waiting
pass
on
this on the
Scott.
second? I know, but that's what I'm saying. Do we just want to pass this on the second reading so we can make the
I think that's a whole nother project.
changes? Okay.
I mean, I would say,
I was just asking.
yeah.
Okay.
Motion to approve on the second and third reading.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second to pass 2015 OR 30 on the second and third final reading. Any further discussion, questions? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion
Just one thing I was
carries.
going to comment on is one of the things that we're doing that Christine is working on her big project now that we kind of have the software that we have, to try to go along with the ordinance and be a little bit clear about who's in what position is we're actually going through, actually she's doing that, going through department by department with our BSNA. And we've just finished about probably 12 hours behind closed doors with finance, going through every employee for the performance raises and making sure that we have the correct GL numbers for every employee who's changed. Because I know we've had a lot of changes in the ordinance in the last couple months. So those are all correct. We've made all those changes. And then what we're going to do is start mapping every position with every person. So kind of like behind the scenes, if you look at the ordinance and there's like 15 laborers, we're going to be able to know exactly just right off the bat who those 15 laborers are. And then we've bought a software that will actually let us eventually do an org chart for each department with all those positions and actually enter that GL number in org chart too. So hopefully we'll kind of streamline the ordinance as well.
Oh, good. Off subject, Kim, how did the Chronos workshop go, or training?
Yeah. It's okay. It was good. It was good. It's just, it's a pretty big system with a lot of bells and whistles and a lot of stuff that I don't know that is really what we need or what we use. But I think we've got a better handle on how to manage it, and we've had people from all the local sites come. So I think now that we've got our arms around a little bit more, I think having folks at other locations who are now a little more familiar with what they can and can't do to be able to go in and do some things that not have all of that fall on HR, because right now what's been happening is HR is the only one that can make those changes and do the work schedules and modify the work schedules and modify the work hours. So now like Stephanie and Becky and Hannah are going to be able to do that at their locations, which I think is going to make things more efficient for us and more efficient for the departments. So it was good. It was good training. I think our heads all hurt at the end of the day. It was a lot of information, but it
Y'all
was
looked
good.
tired when you came out. Just-
We were.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, new business. We've got Chief Kavanaugh training requests.
Good evening. I come before you with 6 training requests. It's going to be the International Police Mountain Bike Association. Going to be sending a series of officers on the bike patrol team. The first training is going to be from June 8th through the 12th. It's going to be conducted at Louisville Metro Police Department. Our cost is going to be $0. The second training is going to be for approximately 3 officers, and it's going to be from July 27th through the 31st. That also costs us $0. The third is going to be approximately 4 officers who are going to be attending in August, and that is approximately a cost of $0 as well. We're utilizing our membership with the International Police Mountain Bike Association to get this training completed and conducted for our officers. The fourth training request I have is going to be an instructor active shooter training. That's going to be a precursor to the main training where Major Lynch is going to attend. That is approximately $250, and that is in the budget, occurring in Clarksville, Indiana on July the 6th, 2015. The fifth training is going to be for Major Lynch to go in depth to the active shooter training. That's going to be approximately 4 days, and the cost on that course is $850, and that is also within the budget for the police department. The sixth training is going to be for the crisis intervention team. That's going to be our negotiators. They're going to be attending a conference that's going to occur with specialized training August 19th through the 21st. The cost for the registration is approximately $900, and the estimated travel cost is going to be approximately $2,450. The total combined cost is $3,350, and that is also within the police department budget for no special appropriations. I'm asking permission to attend these trainings with the officers on the department,
How
respective
many
dates.
guys go on that last one?
The last training is 6,
6.
and that's the entire crisis intervention negotiating team. They work hand in hand with the SWAT team when they're called out to be deployed.
The chief on the active shooter that Major Lynch attends, does he go and then he brings that knowledge and does he have his own training within the department then? Is that what you do, Major?
Yeah, it's an instructor certification.
Okay, good.
Yes, and we actually have a project. I don't want to prematurely speak, but we have a project with the other police departments here in Clark County. So that training is going to be hosted at Clarksville Police Department, and we hope to conduct a project here with some grouped and formalized training that's coming up.
Good.
Good.
Some good trainings.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
So we just don't want any crisis August 19th.
Yeah, that's right.
We hope not. Thank you.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
New business, Kelly Hoffman, the resolution finding substantial compliance with statement of benefits for tax abatements for 2015. We were playing phone tag today.
We were. Good evening. I know some of you are familiar with this. Each year, every company that has a tax abatement has to file a form with us, basically stating where they stand with their project as far as number of employees hired and number of dollars invested as part of that project. The chart that was included in your packet shows the number of jobs as well as the total salary figure for those jobs. The number of dollars invested in personal and real property is a confidential number, so I did not include that in the sheet, although they do give us that information. They also file forms with the county, different forms to get those abatements, and then the county tells me who is filed with them, the auditor's office and the assessor's office, and then I share that information with them. So the last few years have been a bit of a catch-up process as the county's files as well as ours were a little bit disorganized, so we've tried to communicate a lot and get this in order. One of the things that I realized actually thinking about it this weekend was that every year I give you all who has filed, I give you their job numbers and their salary numbers, but I don't tell you who hasn't filed. They kind of fall off our radar until they call us and say, hey, why isn't my abatement on my taxes this year, why isn't it reflected? Or the county notifies me that there's an issue. So that was one of the things that I wanted to bring up with you all tonight. In addition, each company, based on what's passed at council, each company is typically required to pay an abatement fee, which is 10% of their savings. Typically, that's what it is. It's a little bit different with each company. It can take a few months to get those fees. As I talk to different people, whoever it is in the company, it typically changes every year. But that can be kind of a long process. So I wanted to update you tonight on who has not paid their fees for last year as well as this year, which is not on your chart. So for 2014, I didn't receive abatement fees from Flow International, Kramer Holdings, which is also CNG Technologies, and Southern Indiana Plastics. CNG Technologies / Kramer Holdings, they have paid this year, so I'm going to contact them and make them aware that they do still owe from 2014. Flow International and Southern Indiana Plastics have not paid their fee this year. Flow International also did not file their abatement paperwork with our office or with the county assessor's office. I've been working with them I started working with them last April of 2014 to get their paperwork properly filed and have still not received it. I have been in contact with them repeatedly. I know they had a bit of a change in the structure of their company, but I was still under the impression that they would be filing this spring and have not received that paperwork. In addition, when I spoke with them, my understanding was that their employment figures had declined based on what they had told us that their employment figures would be. So when I spoke with them last, which was probably in March or April, I did make them aware that I would be bringing that to your all's attention if they did not file. The other companies that did not file with either me or the county this year were Cook Compression and Metropolitan Urology. So there's a few companies that didn't file with me, but they did file with the county, and the county and I typically try to get together. It can be a really confusing process for companies, especially when there's turnover. So we do try to get together and share paperwork so that, you know, we give the companies the benefit of the doubt that they made their best attempt to get it filed.
So Kelly, since they, like Flo, since they didn't file and you worked with them and they're not following up, ultimately they will lose their abatement, is that?
That is up to you all. So typically what happens with the county is that if the county doesn't receive their abatement paperwork, they will typically remove their abatement.
So when are we, I guess, made aware of that, for example, so that we would act on it if we so choose?
That would be at this meeting. So the resolution that's in front of you is approving basically the filings for this year. But what I realized, and I don't think it's ever historically come before you all, is that you all are never given a list of who doesn't file, which kind of doesn't really make any sense.
It's important, I mean, you know.
Right, and so that's, I end up coming back to you all later in the year with companies that didn't file. Sometimes the county removes them from their list, and sometimes it doesn't happen, and it's just because there's so many different parties involved and so many different forms that have to be filed, it kind of gets lost in the mix.
Kelly, in my opinion, and that, like, it's my opinion, with the flow, you have gone above and beyond in trying to get them, and I mean, it's 2014, now it's 2015.
Well, my opinion is this. They come before us and they ask for these abatements, and I know you say there's a lot of turnover mix. These are important to the companies, or they wouldn't come before us beforehand. I don't understand why they're not being filed. To me, that should be their top priority
Well, the other thing is, if they're not based out of Jeffersonville, and you give them a tax bill for $40,000, it'll get somebody's attention up the ladder. So.
Right, and typically what happens, actually, JDC Veneers hasn't filed this year either, and like last year when they didn't file, and so the county called me and said, hey, they didn't file, can you get a hold of them? I start calling them and leaving them messages. Hey, you all didn't file, what's going on? If you had turnover, are you aware of this? Can I do something to help? So that's, like in their case, that's what I did with them. Flow International was the same. I've exchanged a lot of emails with them.
It's our job to babysit a company.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not our job to babysit a
Taxpayers.
company.
I agree.
If they come before us and they want that abatement, then they need to act maturely and get their paperwork filed, and we should not have to chase them.
Do you have, and
I agree.
I
Try
know
to
you don't
help
have
them. I
anything
agree.
written down, but do you have something that you would present us tonight that we could vote and act upon to send a message, whether it's Flow or any of these companies? Are we ready to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready to.
I'm ready.
I mean, I want you to be prepared. I don't want to put you on the pinch right this moment, but if you are prepared to present that, then I think that I would be prepared to vote to send them a letter, whatever we do to cover
I guess at this point, my suggestion would be to approve the ones who have filed, and then like what we do with UEZ is send a certified letter to those that haven't stating, if you don't file, your abatement's going to be removed. The issue with that is that the filing deadline's already passed.
Yeah.
The filing deadline was in May. So if they do file at this point, I have to come back to you all and have another resolution approved saying that they can file late, and then have a letter signed and send that to the county allowing them to file late.
I guess to Mike's point, if they come back and say, hey, we screwed up, we want to open this back up, are we going to let them do that?
It's up to us.
How's that done?
Do they
It's
get-
up to her.
Oh, I know, but I'm saying, that's the question that you're gonna be faced with.
Do they usually give you a reason why they don't file, or what's
Yeah,
the
I mean,
explanation?
It's different with every company, so I mail a letter out a couple months before the filing's due, with the paperwork that has to be filed with us. I put copies of it in the letter. It's a form letter, and I just tell them when the filing deadline is. Some people don't get it. Like Dennis said, some people's off, Heartland, for example, I kept mailing their letter to their location here. Well, the guys here don't know anything about it. It means nothing to them. So I found out that it's their New Jersey office that handles all of it. So,
I wouldn't take it away. I'd just give like a 10% penalty. I wouldn't take all that away from businesses.
and I'm not sure that that's an option.
If say they have 6 years left, if we take it away this year and they file next year, do they get their remaining 5 years? Or once we cut them off, they're totally cut off?
I am not 100% certain about that. The tax abatements usually work the same way that the UEZ deductions work, and I know with the UEZ deduction that you can pick it back up even if you miss a year. I believe if they wanted to do that, that they would have to come back here and get an exception, which would have to be then filed with the county. I think it would create more paperwork on our end and the county's end to do that.
They could get it back.
I'm not positive about it, but, I mean, I can look into that and see if that's an option.
Kelly, have you documented all the phone calls and the letters?
I have the emails documented. There are a lot of emails. I've also had other people on the phone calls with, at least with Flow International. I've made sure to have conference calls so that other people have on record that I have been very blunt with them about all of it.
Well, it must not be getting to the right person. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't take a tax abatement.
Well, but what I'm saying is, at some point, you gotta get their attention. So, and my thing is, if they come in, if we send them a drop dead notice and they come in, they've lost it for this year and they need to pay it. They can pick it up next year. You know, we need to.
I can look into whether they can pick it up. I mean, I can look into that, whether they can pick it back up. I'm not,
Next year, I agree, because they'll make them aware of it.
Yeah, but.
But they should be aware of it.
and one of the things is, like, the companies that told me they would file and didn't file, they look at the paperwork and they're confused about it, which I understand it can be confusing, but what I always tell them is file it anyway, and then at least we know that you got your paperwork in, and we'll work with you. If we look at it and it doesn't look right, I'll call you and say, hey, these numbers don't look right. So, I mean, the important thing is getting their paperwork into the county, really, because as the designating body, you have the choice to approve the abatements or deny them. The county, though, they're the ones who actually put it on the bill.
What's a
So,
resolution, Vicki?
7. But, real quick, can you send me a list, or Patty, a list of all the companies that you mentioned here that had not?
yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I thought about it over the weekend, and I thought this doesn't make sense the way we've been doing it. So I put the list together today. I know it was short
That's
notice,
okay.
so I apologize
But
for that.
No, that's okay, it's just that we need it for the minutes.
Okay.
I guess I'm going to think out loud here, and then, even though if you look through this paper, you'll find that a lot of these companies come in with this, I'm going to hire 100 people, and they hire 50 people, which maybe circumstances, there's some things that are beyond their control. I want to support the ones here that have done everything accordingly.
Yes, I do too.
I want to punish the ones that have not done anything appropriately, but I want to make sure that if, as Steve said, I mean, maybe something happened and maybe they didn't, for whatever reasons, it slipped through the crack. If they lose a year and pick up the following year, that would be okay. But I don't know, but we don't have that answer. We don't know if we can do that, right?
Right.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure about
First
that.
thing we need to do
Do you
is
know
to
if they can do
follow.
that? I didn't know if you had any.
Well, I think once the board, the way I've read the statute, the fiscal body that originally granted it, they take like a final action to rescind or revoke the tax.
It's done, okay.
But the statute does allow for late filings, and that's very
Right.
routine at May 1st deadline. The statute does allow for the fiscal body to approve or accept compliance documents filed after the deadline towards the end of the year. You just have to coordinate with the auditor assessor's office. It does get kind of crazy, these forms. work with that county council sometimes.
But they
But
missed,
the burden ultimately is on the business to make sure that they file the forms. Really, that's a courtesy what we're doing, to go to contact them, and know that they need to file that.
Right.
The statutory duty, the statutory duty on the city or the county to do that. It's not nice for the county council, we have a few of these, but it just seems like to me, these businesses, they just don't want to spend the money to hire an attorney or someone that knows the law. You know, and some, they want you to fill out the forms for them, but you can't fill out the forms.
Right, and I don't do that.
All the time, you can't do that. And to me, it's cost of doing business, they need to hire an attorney.
I think
Yeah.
it'd be cheaper to hire an attorney.
Well, they're getting tax paid.
Yeah.
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 Well, and I typically call them because, you know, the first year I felt like I kept coming back here in here asking for exceptions for late filings, and then I thought, why not be proactive and call them and make sure they are fully aware, you know, instead of doing a bunch of work on the end of it.
Just real quick too, just because someone makes the required filings, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're technically in compliance with the abatement. Just
Right.
Because you still have to
Right.
show that what they estimated, what the actual.
Well, that was-
There should have been substantial compliance, but the statute also says substantial efforts to comply.
That
Right.
was
You don't
my
have to meet it
next-
100%.
That was my next question. Are all these people compliant with the jobs and?
Substantial
Well,
compliance.
I think you can, yeah, I mean,
Efforts, then substantial efforts.
I think you can go down and look at, you know, the estimated job column, which is what they were estimating at the beginning of their project when they applied for the tax abatement, and then the actual job column shows where their jobs stand now. So I did put a star next to a few businesses that are still in project mode. They're still hiring, they're still expanding. So I think it's hard to judge them based on their jobs there. There are a few companies there that you see their job numbers are lower than what was expected. And we asked them to send a letter stating a reason. So, you know, when the economy was on a downturn, we got a lot of letters saying the economy's rough, which makes complete sense. I went through the file on Friday, or whenever I sent this, Tuesday, I don't know what it was. And from what I remember, I don't recall seeing any letters that explained that, except for the few, like Millsteel said, hey, we're still in the middle of this project. We're not complete yet. We're still hiring people.
You go down the list, you know, we talked about some of the companies that haven't filed or maybe aren't meeting their numbers. If you go down the list, you see Idemitsu Lubricants, Vossclock, Steel Dynamics, TEG Architects. These are all companies that have exceeded what they committed to. You know, Idemitsu has exceeded their payroll by 120, or they've met their payroll 128%. Steel Dynamics 145%. So this seems to have a positive impact, and there are plenty of jobs that are being created and plenty of companies that are benefiting from this process.
And part of Flow International's problem might be, she said that they had a downturn in their employment, so maybe they don't want to turn it in because they think that.
Right, and so I did tell them, I said, if you file and your employment's low, your abatement may be ended because of that. If you don't file, your abatement may be ended because you don't file. So I did make that clear to them that
You know, I guess
it's a sticky situation.
my only comment on the whole thing, and when we give a tax abatement, there's 21 companies that have not fulfilled their job estimate. And there's 11 that have.
Well, some of these companies are listed multiple times,
That's
so.
right. I'm just going down the list by each one, and like Brindley Hardy, they have it.
They're still in the middle of their project, so they just filed for the abatement last year. They have another year to hire people.
And that Brindley Hardy, I mean, they've hired 92 of their promised 138, and they're only halfway through. So.
And the other thing you all don't see here, which I can't show, is the number of dollars invested in the company as far as real property and personal property. I mean, a lot of them, maybe they haven't met their hiring goals, but maybe they've invested more dollars in property than what they had estimated. And that, you know, that's sometimes the case too. So their money was spent not on people and training, but on, you know, we're getting it back in another form.
Kelly, there's some on here that it looks like the resolution was more than 10 years old, and they have a 10-year abatement, but
Right.
yet they're still on here. Well,
Well,
explain that.
okay, so you might come to us, say last year you came to us and said, hey, over the next 3 or 4 years, you give us a deadline for your project date. I'm going to hire X number of people and invest X number of dollars in my property and equipment. Well, you might purchase one piece of equipment this year, one piece next year, one piece 3 years from now. Your abatement doesn't start until each piece of equipment is purchased. So a portion of your abatement started last year, a portion starts this year, a portion starts 3 years down the road when you purchase that piece of equipment. So like last year, I think we had a company on here that they got their abatement in 1997. Well, their abatement didn't start for a number of years because they were still working on purchasing that piece of equipment or finishing an expansion to a building. So that's the reason for, seeing older abatements.
Well, we got, then, so we're kind of twofold. I think we definitely want to support the people that have, or the companies that have worked with the abatement, but how do we address the ones that have not? And I think some of them are, 2 years behind? And I think Kelly has went out of the way to call them and contact them. I think I'm pretty much done with it.
We send a certified letter and pretty much state that, hey,
Exactly.
state it again. I mean, 2 years missing deadlines and as many calls and emails. If somebody's not passing it on up the food chain, I don't know
I'd send a
what to say about
certified
that.
letter, because then whoever signs for it, and then you send the regular bill, that person that signed for the certified letter, they're gonna be the one that's up the creek, someone's not getting the bill. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't want to get the tax abatement.
But those companies are not listed in this resolution.
No.
Right, you all,
We can
right.
pass it.
I'd make a motion to go ahead and pass 2015 R7, but then also to have you follow up with those maybe before the end of the year,
Okay.
Certified
Oh,
letter.
no.
Certified letter.
before,
Certified.
You said the end of the year.
right.
No,
Well,
it needs to be done in the next 30 days.
Yeah,
Needs to happen
okay.
Can you do it in 30 days? Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, I can send them the letter this week. It's just a matter of when
They get 30 days to reply usually after they receive a letter.
I can do that.
But we want to have this resolved before the end of the year.
Right.
I want to have it resolved
Give them 30
within the
days
next
to get
30
back with
days.
you, or they'll get
Okay.
the full bill, they'll lose the abatement.
I got a first. Do I have a second?
Hey, just repeat and put in,
Motion to approve 2015 R7 and to send a certified letter to companies in noncompliance.
okay, and what, do you want to give them a time?
30 days?
Within 30 days, and then I would like to have you back at our next council meeting in 30 days, and if they've not complied, then we're going to...
Take action.
Take action.
Okay.
On removing their abatement.
Is the 30 days workable, Kelly? I mean, is that a
Yep.
fair
Yes.
amount of time?
Yes.
They've had
That's
6
what I said.
months.
Okay, I'll second that motion then.
All right, I got a first and a second. Any more discussion?
Yeah, I just say as long as we're consistent with
Yes.
anybody after that time. If we say we're cutting them off, we can't give special favor to some
Right.
and not others.
We'll send them the full,
Everybody's-
they lose their abatement. And we're not sure if they can get it back, right?
I think the way the statute, once the fiscal body takes action to revoke or rescind an abatement.
I'd say in 30 days, it's,
30 days.
There you go.
If this clear message and this certified letter doesn't work, then you know what? They're done.
They're done.
Well,
They've had
unfortunately.
since the beginning of the year to get this done. They know every year that this has to be done.
Call to question.
All right, I got a motion and a
Oh,
second
yeah.
to pass 2015 R7. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you all.
For all your hard work on all this.
Keep us informed, Kelly.
And Vicki, if you add her to that agenda within the 30 days, you get with her and add her to our agenda, please.
Concerned about pressure.
Heather Metcalf, an ordinance transferring funds within the same department.
We had a request from the Parks Department to change the first one from the $110,000 to add $47,619 to that. So it brings the total amount to transfer is $157,619.10 for that first section.
And just so the public knows, that's for the Vissing Park signage, all the signage within Vissing Park.
And then the second one was for a lease payment for safety for the copy machine.
you say copy machine?
Copier, yes.
I thought you said coffee machine.
I'd love to have a coffee machine with a leaf pen.
He carries the coffee to you.
Barista included.
I know you didn't like the coffee.
I do like coffee, yes.
Do I have a motion?
What the ordinance, Vicki, did you give it to us?
31.
31.
This is our first reading.
Yes.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 2015 OR 31 on the first, we want to do the first reading?
Second.
With the changes.
With changes.
With
Yeah.
changes, yes.
I'll
You-
second that.
Okay, got a motion and a second, 2015 OR 31 with changes. Any further discussion, comment, concern? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Heather.
To add
And you're
parks.
still up. We've got an ordinance of addition appropriation, and a public hearing will be on July 6th.
The first section is for Building Commission for a vehicle. That was originally budgeted in the council's budget at budget time, and that's just moving that appropriation to Building Commission. Didn't know if you wanted to keep it at that number or if we wanted to change
It
it.
actually would probably be lowered, but Nathan, did you want to, you said you had some comments about this.
Yeah, I just had made a comment that it seemed like the city is buying a lot of four-wheel drive vehicles for
Emergency.
for non-emergency type departments. And I'd ask if it's possible to get the vehicle that's requested in a two-wheel drive or a cheaper vehicle, because maintenance is more and fuel is more, all the above. And so we had requested that they go back and get another quote for a vehicle that fit that. And I believe they're doing that.
yeah.
So I would be okay if I'd even make the motion to approve this on the first reading and allow us to.
Adjust it in next meeting if need be.
always
Yeah, because we always can
change
go
it
lower,
if
can't
need
go.
be.
Mhm.
But it was just kind of a comment that I had, I was noticing, and
Most of these vehicles that we're talking about is front-wheel drive, so they'll go pretty much anywhere that we have.
I know, I talked to, and this has nothing to do with our police, but I talked to the chief, for how many years did they have the Crown Vics that went everywhere? And they're two-wheel drive. And so I know now we're upgrading, getting better ones for them. But building commissioner's office, I didn't see quite as, I saw it a little bit differently, so.
Well, it's also the type of vehicle, because I believe that vehicle that he's going to get seats 8 people. How many times does he drive with 8 people in his vehicle? Does he need a car that big? I mean, I don't know. I know the previous one didn't.
So my motion is on the first reading.
I'll second it.
All right, I got a motion and a second for 2015 OR 32 in the first reading. Any further discussion?
No.
Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Get a second on that. Mike? Okay.
You don't have any questions on the second one for supplies for police?
You know, the chief's really good about sending out emails and keeping us informed. Thank you, chief. Okay. City Council Attorney Report. Scott, you have anything for us tonight? Okay, then we'll move on to Department Head. We've got Mr. Andy Crouch for the Sidewalk Master Plan update.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Motion to limit to 3 minutes.
See if I can get this working.
We're still under the,
Yeah.
Always doing his thing.
He's doing his thing.
I have control now.
okay, I will turn it over to you then. Sir, you have
That's
control.
Councilman Samuel asked me to provide an update to the sidewalk projects that you appropriated financing for last year, so I wanted to come and do that. I've got a few slides. I'm going to run through them. We're going to be quick, and if you have any questions, we'll take care of those at the end.
Give us a hard copy.
I will get you either a PDF or a hard copy, either way you want it.
Hard copy.
Okay, can do. Middle Road sidewalk. was one of the projects that you appropriated funding for. It's a new sidewalk connection between Pebble Creek Drive and Allison Lane. It's going to connect multiple residential neighborhoods to Allison Lane. The design plans are complete. We're working with a single property owner for an easement. Otherwise, we are ready to go. And we should be able to start construction this summer. Jacoby Toombs and Lands did the design on that. They met with the property owner just this past week. Property owner was going to be out of town for a couple of weeks or so on vacation, asked us to get back in touch with them, and they didn't have any issues with it. They just need a little bit of time. Just to give you, for those that don't know, a little update on where that is. That's it is in our sidewalk master plan. It's running from Allison Lane down to Pebble Creek.
So how many subdivisions are we connecting, approximately?
All of the residential areas that you see on there. Yeah, I mean, all of Capitol Hills. Yeah. 12th Street was a road diet that we completed earlier this year. We added sidewalks and bike lanes on each side of the road. We put accessible ramps at the intersections. We added pedestrian refuge areas to the center median to facilitate street crossings, specifically coming down Bates Bowyer. We've narrowed the lanes to slow the traffic, and we increased safety at the intersections. I think everybody is aware of the corridor that I'm talking about.
That turned out really nice.
It turned out really nice. These were some original photos. And we've come back with bike lanes, sidewalks, and striped crossing areas. That's the refuge island in the center of the median. And we extended a sidewalk down Thomas B. Bryan as well so they can get down to 10th Street. We feel like that was a very successful project.
There's a lot of pedestrians there.
Yep.
I walk that.
14th Street, we're looking at doing a very similar project. We've had a few hiccups on that design-wise. It's a major corridor for Claysburg neighborhood to get to and from Spring Street. Sidewalks through that area are intermittent, and pedestrians walk on a sidewalk, then they drop onto the grass or the road and pop back up on the sidewalks. Streets are really too wide for a single-lane traffic. If you're familiar with that road, it's a very wide street. It's almost 2 lanes, but it's not striped as such. We're going to do a road diet there to reclaim the unused corridor areas and put them to better use. The design's complete. Contractor's been given a notice to proceed. You should be seeing construction start in the next week or so. That's going to be on the north side of 14th Street. We're still working. There's some right-of-way issues on the south side around the hospital, and we're going to be working with the hospital on that to actually phase that in afterwards.
And they're fine with everything, no pushback from the hospital?
We're not getting pushback from the hospital. I've just got to work out whether we're going to do easement or some right-of-way acquisition, or if they're going to give us just some permissions. Allison Lane, from Wooded Way to Cinema Knoll Drive. We completed the design. We completed easement plats because we don't have enough right-of-way there to install the sidewalk in our right-of-way. We completed the appraisals for the easements. The appraisals came in much higher than we expected. So we went back to the drawing board. We revised the design, we revised the easement plats, we revised the appraisals, and we're currently negotiating easements with 3 different owners through there. Construction should start later this summer. However, because the easements did come a little higher than what we thought, and we are requesting an additional $20,000 in funding. Ordinance 2015 R01, the first ordinance you passed this year, was for $25,000 for this project. That'll cover the construction. We already have quotes on the construction. We have a contractor lined up. He's antsy, ready to get at it. We just told him to wait for right now till we get the easements in place. I'm asking for $20,000. I think I can do it for an additional 10. Just to give me a little buffer, I'm asking for 20.
Where are we at on, of course, they've all had all their approvals for the Big O. Are they going to be tearing up any of our sidewalks? Or
They will probably be tearing out a little bit of our sidewalk, but they will be replacing it correctly.
Okay.
Skyline Acres, the design is complete. There's no easements or right-of-way needed, but the public feedback during the design phase indicated many of the residents in the area were really not interested in sidewalks at this time, so we have tabled those for now. That covers...
Sorry, Andy. Did we put money in Skyline Acres?
No.
Pardon?
Did we? Did we budget money for that?
Yes, it is construction.
Well, the 20, if realistically, if we want to pull 20 out of that, we could do that. And
That's absolutely, and I have not compiled a financial update for you when it comes to this, but all of these projects that I'm talking about are coming in under budget. Even the ones that we haven't completed yet, the quotes that we've come in have come well under budget.
Andy, can you send us a copy of that?
Absolutely. For future project recommendations, Councilman Samuel again asked me, or I suggested that we come up with some future project recommendations. He thought that'd be appropriate, so I'm going to run through those as well. We are looking at Sundancer in Steeplechase from Utica-Sellersburg Road to New Chapel, and then from New Chapel from Sundancer to Carrie Ann Way. Some of these are not going to make sense. I'm going to get into a little bit more detail with you.
Do you not have businesses that will be going in there, be required to put the sidewalks in?
Not in this area.
Okay.
I'm going to expand on these a little bit. In Raintree Ridge, there's a missing piece of section along the detention and open space we would like to fill in. Along 10th Street, we're looking at McDonald's, from McDonald's to Vissing Park Drive. On Middle Road, from Perrin Lane to Allison Lane. Utica Pike, from Perrin Lane to Duffy's Landing, and again from Duffy's Landing to Allison Lane. Get into your question, from Utica-Sellersburg to New Chapel, and from New Chapel to from Utica-Sellers Road to Carrie Ann Way. We're seeing a lot of vehicular traffic traveling on that road. They're cutting through from Utica-Sellersburg Road over to New Chapel, taking a right on New Chapel to go up to Carrie Ann at Stony Brook to get out to US 62. I'm expecting more traffic once that intersection at Carrie Ann and US 62 develops. I got a phone call today. They should be starting construction on the signal at Carrie Ann Way next week. That's a little better idea of where I'm talking about. This is through Sundancer, through the subdivision, going to New Chapel.
Have we gotten any kind of feedback from the residents there? Like,
This is actually coming from residents.
Okay.
This is feedback coming from them asking for.
You're working with Ron Walker? When you say the residents, he's the president of the HOA out in that area.
I have not worked with him.
So he's in Carrie Ann Way.
Yeah.
I think this is the result of.
This is Steeplechase. Yeah, through Steeplechase.
I can't see that map.
Sorry. Yeah.
Well, I haven't got any glasses.
It's hard to get it all on there. But we're hearing that we're getting a lot of cut-through traffic coming off of Utica-Sellersburg Road there, cutting through Sundancer just to get over to Carrie Ann.
Gotcha.
Just a couple of pictures. It's a fairly flat area. We've already looked at it. We have the right-of-way through there to do it. The only issues might be some mailboxes and some shrubbery that may have to be replaced or relocated.
You gonna knock on some doors?
We will definitely be knocking on doors. Raintree Ridge, there's an existing, we'd like to connect an existing sidewalk path filling a gap between some sections. At the detention basin area in front of Raintree Ridge, there's sidewalks all through Raintree Ridge, but there's a gap in between here, and a lot of kids like to play in that area. We just like to connect that gap up. It's a fairly low cost. I'll get into the cost at the end.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
Was that subdivision was approved by Clark County?
It
not
was.
by the city of Jeffersonville, is that right?
Correct. And
so there's no requirement for the developer to put that sidewalk in?
No, and you're looking, I'm going to go back. You're looking at an area, typically they put sidewalks in front of the houses, and there's no houses there.
Right.
So there were no sidewalks installed. So there's just one stretch of no connectivity between the two. So just some pictures there, standing kind of mid-block in that detention basin area, looking up toward Charlestown Pike, looking back into the subdivision and looking at the detention basin itself. You can see there's nothing there.
If we go putting in sidewalks and is that property, is it still sites available to build homes?
Mm-mm.
It's a detention area.
It's just a detention area. Open space.
Sidewalks in, you just bust them up, put moving trucks in.
Yeah. Along 10th Street, we're looking at McDonald's to Vissing Park Drive on the south or the east side of the corridor. I like to think of 10th Street as running east and west, but in this area, it runs really north and south. So I'm looking at the east side of the corridor. Connect all your neighborhoods and a park to the commercial retail and the restaurants. I've shown on here in red the location that we're looking at installing the sidewalk, with McDonald's being at the bottom of your page and Bissing Park Drive being at the top. The yellow line is a site we looked at putting sidewalk in there when we put sidewalk along Bissing Park Drive. We chose not to do that because it looks like that land is going to be developed within the next year. We didn't want to run into a situation where we installed sidewalks and then they come in a year later and, one, they could fund those sidewalks because it's a requirement of our development code. Two, them have to tear out sidewalk that we just put in for their construction. So we feel very strongly that sidewalk is about to come in there, and then along the green lines up in Rolling Ridge and along Bissing Park Drive, you already have sidewalks. This would connect those gaps up. And again, just a few pictures along that corridor. On Middle Road, we have a similar situation. We'd like to look at Perrin Lane to Allison Lane. We'd like to connect multiple residential areas to the Middle Road and Allison Lane intersection. You're connecting, it connects existing and planned sidewalk corridors. The red line, again, is where we are looking at installing sidewalk. The green that you see at the bottom is the north part of that green is at the Aquatic Center, and then running back into town along Middle Road and down Perrin Lane. At the top of your page, kind of the top right, you see some yellow lines. That is the running north and south on Allison Lane, as well as running on out Middle Road. You have a project, Middle Road, that should be starting construction this summer. So that's a project, that's a sidewalk that's going to be installed. The Redevelopment Commission is working on installing sidewalks along Allison Lane and funding that. So this will be connecting your downtown area along Middle Road to the sidewalks that are being installed.
Is that sidewalk on both sides?
We're just looking at one side. The only caveat to that would be on 10th Street. From McDonald's to Bissing Park. On the north side, there's already some sidewalk through there, but you're crossing 5 lanes of traffic to get over to it. Yeah.
So on that Middle Road piece, you're looking at the south side?
Probably looking at the south side. We'd have to evaluate once we get in there where right-of-way is, where some obstructions are, but probably the south side. At Utica Pike, we're looking at connecting from Perrin Lane to Duffy's Landing, and then from Duffy's Landing on over to Allison Lane. It connects neighborhoods and completes a future gap in the walkability through there. Again, the red line would be the sidewalk that I'm talking about. On the bottom left, you have Utica Pike and Perrin Lane in the green. You have the green line along Duffy's Landing, along Utica Pike, that is already installed. And at the top right of the sheet, you have a yellow stripe. That's the future sidewalk that redevelopment is funding along Allison Lane. So this will be connecting some gaps along at Utica Pike for connectivity again.
Can we make those sidewalks some way to where they can be bike trails too and sidewalks? Because there's a huge problem on that Utica Pike.
There is, and if you look at the sidewalk that we installed in front of Duffy's Landing, I believe we made that 8 foot wide in order to accommodate bicycles.
We can do, and make the bikes ride on that? And, I mean,
I can't make them. Here's what we found with bicycles. Well, in general, we found there's 2 different groups of bicyclists. There's mom and dad out with the kids, and they want to be on the sidewalk as much as possible. And then you have your very avid cyclists, and they don't want to be segregated. That's their road as much as it's the vehicle's road, and they want to use the road. So I don't think we could make them.
That would be fine if
But
they
it-
obeyed the traffic laws, like stop at the stop sign.
Understand.
Things like that,
Don't
yeah.
don't
Don't
ride
ride 5
4
Right.
block traffic.
Right.
Yeah.
Just a few pictures along that corridor. I think everybody's familiar with it. Now take a deep breath.
Good Lord.
It's an ambitious plan.
Keep dreaming.
We understand it's an ambitious plan, and I'm not suggesting that we fund all of this right now for this year. I just think these are the areas that we're seeing that lack connectivity, especially in the future once you get middle roads sidewalks in, once you get Allison Lane sidewalks in, once you get a development going in at Bissing Park Drive and 10th Street. That's going to bring sidewalks all the way out to 10th Street. These are just ones that we're looking at that we think would be a good suggestion for the future. We realize this is an ambitious.
In that price though, I mean, are you figuring kind of roughly land acquisitions and all that stuff, or is that, what are you figuring with that?
That's figuring design, land acquisition, and construction. Total package. You'll see that the top two, Sundancer, as well as Raintree Ridge, are not in the master plan. Sundancer has come about since the development of the master plan. I think there's just more traffic running through Sundancer now. For whatever reason, you've got construction of the bridge. There's just more traffic coming through there. And then at Raintree Ridge was a request from the subdivision residents that there be some connectivity in there. The rest of these are in the master plan. It is a big number.
I didn't see Hopkins Lane. We've talked about that multiple times, safety issue. Every resident of Hopkins Lane has been emailing me and calling me because it's a narrow road, more and more walking.
Yep.
When you're looking at public safety, I'm going to speak loud and clear for my constituents. Sure. Sorry.
Well, and that's really what I'm looking for from the council as whole tonight, not an approval of $1.8 million for these projects, but I'd like to hear from you. What would you like to see?
Connecting, and I understand the annex and they never had sidewalks, but we've got public safety issues. I think we need to add a little weight to that. And any council member can go down there and drive Hopkins, and you will see what I'm talking about. So.
I'll be glad to answer any other questions. I'm not really looking for a motion for anything tonight. I was just asked to give an update, so that's where we are.
Andy, from our perspective, one of our roles is to put money in infrastructure and to make sure it's built up. And I appreciate you doing that, giving us the ideas and getting our input. If you don't challenge us and put up projects, then we'll never get them done. So I think having them in front of us is a good thing.
I will email this out to everyone. I will get a hard copy to Ms. Vicki. And then if you have any comments or questions or suggestions to add to this list, please let me know.
Actually, I would like to get some more feedback since we've got full council on our situation that we have concerning that sign on Allison Lane, unless you don't want to, but.
That's fine with me.
We have on Allison Lane, as you know, this project has been in the works for, I don't know, since I've been on the council because of the walkability and the safety. That's why we went ahead and did them like up there around Zaxby's and all. But in front of Welby's, he has a sign that is in the way of the sidewalk, and there's a little bit dispute there that if I'm just going to come right out and say it. Well, we're going to have to, if the city is going to have to buy him a new sign, he doesn't want to comply to our new city ordinance, and Shane's standing strong on it. My opinion, and I'd like for your all's opinion, is if the city is buying a sign, then I think the city should abide by our ordinance, but that's my opinion. So I'd like to hear some of your all's thoughts and comments on that.
We just can't move his sign back?
I don't know if
Whose
that's...
sign is it?
Welby Edwards, State Farm. I mean,
His sign physically could be moved back. Legally, what we've said is if there is a sign that's coming down or being relocated, it's going to conform to the new ordinance.
So it's not about, it has nothing to do with the sign location.
He
Correct.
doesn't mind it being moved back, though.
Pardon?
He doesn't mind it being moved back,
No, not at all. It's not about the location.
but he's grandfathered in on what.
No.
He's,
Well, yeah, but he's moving because we've got to move it.
But he's requested these sidewalks. He is the one that's requested, so the city, am I correct?
that's correct.
He is the one that is requesting this, so I feel that the city's doing him
How
a
much is
favor.
the sidewalk, how much is it in the way? I mean, are we talking feet, inches? I don't know.
I'm going to show you
Okay.
if I can get it to come up.
I mean, I think it would be good for
Oh, wait.
everybody on the council to ride up and look at this sign and kind of take a good view of it and see what you know what you're doing.
What happened?
That's what I asked, that's what I'm saying.
Hold on,
Andy's in control.
Andy,
hold on, I got it.
what's his sign? Is it not compliant because of,
It is currently a pole sign. So there's a single pole coming up. Let me see if I can pull that up for you.
Oh, he's
Good.
efficient.
So you can see here that he's got a single pole with a sign on top.
right,
And if you look, you can see right through here,
yeah.
there's what I call a desire path. I mean, this is why we're putting a sidewalk in, because people walk through there anyway.
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to flip back to the overhead view, and that sign is right there. Okay, this is the shadow for it. There's the sign right there. So people right now are coming through here, and they're going out around some landscaping and a sign, and then coming back in. Our proposal is to come basically just
I'll make it perpendicular.
right
to the road.
through here, yeah,
That would
and
be
not
wide.
push out further toward the road. That's going to require the relocation of his sign.
And the sign has to be placed on a permanent base versus a pole?
It has to be placed on a planning commission, y'all refer to that as a,
Could the sign not be
Monuments.
wrapped,
Yes,
the pole not be wrapped, like
the pole could,
It's too tall.
the pole could be wrapped, but it doesn't meet height
It doesn't meet
requirements.
Yeah.
was there?
And anyone else who moves their sign or is taken down, they have to get a
I'm on.
monument sign.
The only comment I've got, we need to get the sidewalks in there.
Right.
Yes.
It's a pain. I mean, it is a problem.
And he's been there a long time, you know.
Well,
Can he not go to the BZA and ask for a
he will
variance?
have to go through planning and.
He would have to go, I think it's through the planning commission that would
Yeah,
have to go
Council
through.
doesn't vote on
No.
that.
Understand.
I mean, I'm just stating that, so.
Why wouldn't he go through, I mean, I'm not defending, but why wouldn't he go through VCA and say, they want to put a sidewalk in, I think it's great, I'm going to have to move my sidewalk 3 feet over, but I want to maintain this sidewalk, this sign and pole, and get a variance?
I think
is
the
that
pla-
an option for him?
I think, and I'm saying planning commission instead of BZA because I think that's
Planning.
the appropriate body, but I think he could do that.
Okay.
Whether or not we would grant it.
Well, I know
correct.
that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah,
but
I think
there's
that
a
could-
process for him to
Right,
say, guys,
yeah.
there's a process, and then
This
let
is
the
not really
let the
a
process
board.
work one way or another.
I just wanted some feedback because we had a lot of emails going back
Yeah.
and forth
I
and,
guess I didn't miss that one.
He-
Shane's very passionate about our new sign ordinance.
He's not requesting to keep the pole sign. The sign that he is requesting actually kind of has a wrapped skinned base, but it goes up in a V-shaped pattern about 8 feet tall and then has the rectangular sign on top of that.
But I think that would be for him to pursue the variance or the process that we have set in place and let that board make that decision.
Connie, does the sign that he wants not fall under the guidelines?
Too tall.
What?
The sign that he's just described
The
as,
one that, well,
new
he has,
sign.
no, it does not.
no, the new sign.
She hasn't seen it, I don't think, but it doesn't.
Oh, it doesn't?
It doesn't. The sign that he wants to replace this with does not meet the current
Oh, I see.
ordinance.
Evidently not.
I think the current ordinance says you can have a 4-foot base and then a 4-foot high sign, so a total of 8 feet, and he's got a 8-foot base with the sign on top of that. Is what he would like to replace with.
Well, he just needs to go through the process.
I think the question is if he goes through the process and he's denied, what does that leave for us with the sidewalk? I mean, he could say, I don't want to grant an easement. I mean,
He's
at
the
this
one who-
point.
He's the one who
I
wanted the
think-
sidewalk.
I understand.
Well, he's not the only one that wants a sidewalk.
I know,
mean,
but-
Apparently the whole neighborhood.
They're
wants
making
a
a cattle
sidewalk.
track
I
through his
understand
yard.
that, but he is the one who approached
Yeah.
some council members.
Oh, I've talked to him about the sidewalk.
I realize that, but he is the one who has approached the council requesting the sidewalk.
I would guess if you put the sidewalk in and he's not happy with the board's finding, then he either adheres to their finding or don't put a sign up. It's kind of simple.
But he's gonna have to grant us.
He has to grant the easement in order for us to put the
Holding
sidewalk
the
in.
sidewalks hostage. I'm just saying. He is.
I didn't want to say that, thank you.
Well, I'm saying it.
Well, Andy, is the sign that's there, is it not high enough that people could walk under?
It is, they could probably walk under it.
But it's
Then-
not perpendicular. If you look at the path, it's not perpendicular
it's
to the
not
road. It's
straight.
kicking out.
And
You'll have to go back and get back in line.
So he's got to grant you the easement to even get the sidewalk in there. I say you give him, I mean, he's been in the business forever. I mean, you're going to have to make exceptions to some of those signages, you know? You don't want to run out of business.
Oh, I don't
No,
think
we're
so.
not gonna run
I know, and he's not, but I mean,
I can discuss with Welby and have him and just make a recommendation that he come to the planning commission and
I'm sure Shane's
have that
probably
discussion. Shane and I had a talk with him last week.
The only thing this is holding up is that section, right?
In front of his
So
business.
if we just say, we're gonna go on with all the other,
Let's do it.
and you all work out all the details, and then
We can do
maybe
that.
he'll come around and we'll try to work on him.
Is
Maybe
it, but
calmer heads
will the
will,
cost
maybe
go
calmer
up
heads will
with
prevail.
us making this a two-piece process?
It could go up a little. I wouldn't think it would go up a lot.
If you're gonna tear it out,
I will say this, in order for me to acquire the other two easements and do this sidewalk, you know, Welby's property aside, I'm going to need the additional funding. There's currently $25,000 in the fund for this. I've spent some of that in easement plats and appraisals, so I'm going to need some additional funding.
We'll work on that.
Okay.
I'd say go through everybody else goes through the process. I'd say let
That's
the
what we
board make that
require.
decision, or let them compromise, or whatever they want to do. I mean, that's not for us, not for me.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
me,
No, it's not for you either.
well, he just wants his sign moved.
Scott, did anybody sign
no
up for public
cost.
comment? All right, no public comment, so that leads us to council comments. So we'll start with Councilperson Smith,
No, thank you.
Councilperson Wadsworth,
No comment,
Councilperson Sellers, Councilperson Webb,
no comment.
Woo, Councilperson Julius. Ding, 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 we have a
I went to both days at Smoking on the River this weekend, and I think we owe a lot of thanks to the parks, and man, they do a great job down there. The police presence, the fire presence, it was a total package. And but they had on their pink shirts, not the firemen and policemen, but the workers. They were very identifiable. They were picking up trash. They really did a good job down there, and they need to be recognized for that. This is one that people come from all over to see, and they did a great job. They just really did. They represented our city very well.
Councilperson Owen.
I agree. I had a lot of compliments while I was down there, and then also saw several people on social media talking about what a great event it was, and exactly what he said. Also, I got a call yesterday from somebody in Indianapolis. They said, hey, I got a voicemail. Said, hey, if you don't know, Inside Indiana is talking about Jeffersonville, and I'll email the link out to everybody on the council, but Inside Indiana Business is a Indianapolis-based publication, and they usually focus on what's going on in Indianapolis, what's going on, in that area of the state. But they came down to Jeffersonville and filmed an episode at Flat 12 and spent a lot of time highlighting different things that were going on in Jeff with the Big Four Bridge, Flat 12 opening its only brewery outside of Indianapolis, the Shimps expansion, just a lot of good positive things that were going on in and around Jeffersonville. And I think it really speaks, volumes to have people from Indianapolis noticing what's going on here. So I just wanted to make everybody aware of that. And like I said, I'll forward the link so that you can go on and you can see they did several different segments. And you can watch each of those. They're between 2 and 5 minutes apiece. It was really good. That's all.
Councilperson Samuel.
Just want to call our attention that late last week we had a total of 5 of the Monumental Memories pictures mounted on the sides of downtown buildings in Jeff, and we have more coming up, and I think those build a lot of excitement. It adds a lot of character to our downtown. We completed our 13 utility boxes, and hopefully everybody saw those, but again, that's just generating a lot of positives, and I'm proud of that for our art commission. I wasn't at our meeting earlier tonight, the workshop, because I was at called Illuminate Claysburg. Andy Kraus is their city engineer. There's probably eight or nine folks that we sat through 3 presentations, and we saw the maquettes of, Andy talked about 12th Street, which is right behind here, the City Hall, all the way to the hospital. The road diet that he did, it looks great. Now we're putting decorative lighting in the middle, and we saw 3, I thought, very unique, interesting additions that I'm sure that whichever one is selected, and it's going to be put on Facebook in the morning, I think, for some people to be able to get on and vote. So if you look on, I'm not sure if it's the city's Facebook or the Art Commission's Facebook, at one of those. And 3 distinct different models, but it's going to be great looking when it's done. And that piece is going to be installed in November of this year. So I think it'll be something that'll be talked about extensively across this community. And Andy, through the engineers department, they were going to put up new street lights anyway. So we combined them with the Art Commission and said, look, we can raise some more money, and I think UEZ and a couple other groups helped come up with the dollars along with Andy, and it's wonderful, and I'm excited about that. And the last question I had, Kim left, and I hate that, but Kim Calabro, does anybody know if a lot of discussion's been going on about the green team and the leader of that green team? At the beginning of June, they were supposed to, if he's going to take this test, he's supposed to sign up for that test. Does anybody know if he signed up for that test? And if not, then we need to, I guess I'll check with HR tomorrow and find out, because that was part of some of our discussions, and we said we're going to find out and ask. I feel like we at least need to follow through.
Lisa, didn't you meet with the mayor? He said he was not going to.
Well, we left that deadline on the table just to stick by what we were saying. I don't think that test has the support of the administration, but we'll follow through.
I just want to follow through and do what we said we were going to do and ask, and I'll let everybody know what I find out tomorrow. And was just curious. That's all I have.
Could you have Dawn send me the link on that Facebook page so I post it on your office or the city, so I can post it on the council's too?
Will do.
Okay, and add to that, there's 4 of us, I can't remember the name of the 4, I think Steve, me, you, and Connie, and I think Nathan, we're meeting Wednesday. We'll have a meeting with Paul, so we'll probably find out some more on Wednesday.
Okay.
We couldn't get the meeting in after last council meeting when I requested that meeting, and so we'll be meeting with him on Wednesday after our meeting with Worley. So I will send out an email and kind of update everybody. And also, as you know, at last council meeting, I sent out a letter of support, and I already got a thank you note from the Ports of Indiana. It says, Lisa, thank you so much for your kind letter of support for the Ports Tiger Grant application. It'll help a lot. Thanks as well for all you do to make our community better. Cheers. So you all really supported that, and we voted to send that on, which we did, and he immediately thanked us for that. So I'm hoping that'll help in that. That's all I have. Unless we'll ask Heather, please. Usually Les is the one that's here, and I say bring up during department heads, but since you're the one, because, I personally didn't get a chance to go down smoking on the river, but if you could just relay how that boy job to the Parks Department and the staff. I mean, we do have police here, and we do have the fire here, but if you would just relay that maybe during staff meeting after Board of Public Works, it's usually what Les does, but since he's not here, I appreciate that. And then I also wanted to say, I don't know if the public, we talk about it off and on, but with Chief Kavanaugh now in place, he's bringing back community policing, and he's bringing back the bike patrol. And how many officers are going to be participating in that?
Bike patrol, approximately 12.
So that's a positive thing, and I really appreciate that. Community policing, I think, is very important for the community, and I just wanted to commend you publicly for that. So thank you.
Thank you.
So I don't have anything else, so do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Meeting adjourned.